Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Marathi welcomes you to the battlefield today. We're going to be taking the Dark Elves up against the Empire, so let's jump straight to the army compositions. Marathi, of course, on foot today. In terms of her spell selection, we've got Melkos Mystifying Miasma to help slow down and damage enemy cavalry, Power of Darkness, and Soul Stealer. We've also got Deadly Onslaught and both items, so we've got the Heartrender and Darksword and the Wand of Caradron here. In terms of the rest of the army, Blades of the Blood Queen and Sisters of Slaughter form an elite second line with a front line of 5 Dread Spears, including the Hellobronis here, who are almost an auto pick for me. Great melee defense and poison makes them very, very strong. We've also got 2 units of Cold One Knights with 2 Doomfire Warlocks. The Doomfire Warlocks are up in Vanguard here, and this is going to be our solution for dealing with enemy heavy cavalry. We've also got 2 units of Dark Riders, one of them way over in the corner of the map. And that's it for my build. You can see for my opponent, these Hellblaster volley guns already popping off shots here. Going to be doing some great damage. He's got Balthasar Gelt as his commander here. Let's see. Searing Doom, Final Transmutation, and Transmutation of Lead. He's got some cavalry out here on the side, Zintler's Reiksguard and Demigryph Knights with more Reiksguard and Demis over here. No halberds on these Demis. They're the shielded variant. They do have a missile block chance, but obviously no bonus versus large. Front line of State Troops Spearmen with shields with the Sigmar Sons in the center. And that's it. So without further ado, let's kick the battle into full gear. And you can see right off the bat, these Hellblaster volley guns going to be firing away, doing some really nice damage. Hellobroni are a relatively high value target, and I'm keeping my higher value infantry away. Meanwhile, over on this side, we're going to try and bait a pitched cavalry engagement, because I'm pretty confident that with the Soul Blight from the Doomfire Warlocks and the Dark Riders supporting and the Cold One Knights, with everything together here, we should be able to win a pitched cavalry engagement. So we're going to get the Doomfire Warlocks in, interrupt the charge here, very importantly, so none of these units get their charge bonus. My opponent very wisely going to drop well, it looks like I'm dropping a Soul Blight here, so there's the bound Soul Blight from the Doomfire Warlocks. Going to tear away some of the armor of these units here, so the non-AP attacks from the Doomfire Warlocks and the Dark Riders will do more. Now my opponent's dropping that final transmutation, doing a great job there, mitigating the combat stats of all my troops. Meanwhile, up through the main line, you can see the Hellblaster volley guns now focus firing on the more important infantry here. And over on this side, we're going to be able to catch my opponent's cavalry on the back hoof. He does barely get a countercharge off at the last second here, but we do get that Soul Blight. You can see them barely countercharging at the last second there. But we should be able to win this side much more convincingly. Meanwhile, over on this side, I'd missed it, but my opponent dropped an Overcast Searing Doom there and just routed off, just completely destroyed those Doomfire Warlocks and the Dark Riders there, so very well played. Definitely using Balthasar Gelt's magic very efficiently, and man, these poor Blades of the Blood Queen just been reduced to a fraction of their power by those Hellblaster volley guns. That one's already got an XP chevron. The other one did manage to get interrupted by the Dark Riders in the back line. We managed to get these guys that were deployed in the corner in here and sneak them back. Meanwhile, on the front line, Sisters of Slaughter are going to be doing very well pushing through state troops. Obviously, with their much better combat stats, they'll be able to cut them up without too much issue. We're mostly winning the cavalry engagement over on the far side, whereas on this side, we brought the Hellobroni and another unit of Dread Spears here to try and finish off this fight in my favor. My opponent did extricate his Demis, but the Reiksguard, unfortunately, are still fighting in here, and the Hellblaster volley gun firing over into this combat. Meanwhile, another very nice Searing Doom, very well placed on those Sisters of Slaughter there. Going to generate some really good value against that low armor but high cost unit. Meanwhile, in the back line, these Dread Spears going to interrupt the Sigmar Sons, make sure that these Dark Riders can get free and take down this last Hellblaster volley gun, which has generated great value for my opponent. Definitely a decent pick in this matchup. Can be tough to protect that much artillery, but he was definitely able to get some really good value there. Unfortunately, the Blades of Blood Queen are still on the field just due to their amazing leadership, but a Soul Stealer going down here, trying to finish off these Demis and the other units in this pocket. And then over here, we've got state troops being routed off, so things aren't looking great for the Empire. The balance power is still pretty close at this point, but most of the heavy cavalry's gone and the artillery's offline, so once that's done, I mean, Balthasar can only really do so much himself. Marathi can easily take him one-on-one in melee, and I mean, there's plenty of other units around to help her out, so at this point, it's more or less a victory for the Dark Elves, even though the balance power is still pretty close. You can see it ticking more and more in my favor as more of these units start to get shattered, but we're just using these Dark Riders and other mobile units just to make sure that none of these, artillery crewmen come back. Unfortunately, the Zentler's Reichsguard did rally, but we should be able to take them out. Melkos going down on that unit of Spearmen, and those Demigryph Knights fleeing from these Dread Spears. Yeah, at this point, things looking pretty favorable. The Doomfire Warlocks doing a nice hammer and anvil, coming in here on the Sigmar Sons, shooting their fancy blue fire, I guess purple fire, out of their hands there. And yeah, meanwhile, over on the far side here, the Sisters of Slaughter getting their boots wet, although I guess they have metal boots probably. But yeah, they're going to slug it out in the marsh here. Ooh, a very nice overcast Searing Doom there, just wrecking those Doomfire Warlocks, and I really like my opponent's use of that Searing Doom there to deal with the Doomfire Warlocks. Again, another high-value, low-armor unit, and because of their physical resistance, they can be really tough for standard units to take out. So very well played by my opponent there. Really efficient use of that Searing Doom there from Balthasar. I actually like the pick of Balthasar Gelt quite a bit. He's cheap, he has a really nice selection of spells, and in this matchup, he can generate some excellent value against things like Witch Elves, Doomfire Warlocks, Sisters of Slaughter, all of which you're likely to see in this matchup. But you can see these Zentler's Reichsguard making their last stand here with Balthasar Gelt. Unfortunately, the Dread Spears, obviously with their bonus versus large, going to be able to mostly deal with them. Demis, we're trying to pin them in place with the Dark Riders here so the Hellebroni can get in and finish their job. But yeah, at this point, just cleaning things up. Another Soul Stealer going down. Unfortunately, didn't quite catch Balthasar there. But he's going to be dropping another Searing Doom here. I do actually see this one and get out of the way in time. Oh, looks like did actually take out... no, they're good. They're getting back up, all three of them. So, yeah. We're going to fast forward a little bit through this late game stage, as it's mostly just me slugging it out with these Red Spears here until Morathi gets close enough to mix it up with Balthasar herself. So she's going to get in here, say hello to Balthasar, do some fancy spin moves, kicks, and rolls and such, and then apply her bonus versus large, which just seems wrong to say somehow in this context. But anyway, we're going to ignore that and just move on to, yeah, Morathi doing all these fancy spin moves and kicks and stuff. Definitely terrorizing these state troops, and they are out of here. Not actually terrorizing, mind. She doesn't actually cause terror, although I definitely wouldn't want to be caught by Morathi. I mean, out of characters in Warhammer that you want to be captured by, Morathi's probably close to Sigvald on the bottom of that list. But yeah, you can see, anyway, Balthasar learning the hard way about Morathi's magic, taking a Soul Stealer straight to the face. And as that ticks, it's going to tick the balance of power more and more in my favor here. So we'll fast forward through the late game, as it's mostly just me trying to finish off these last few ground units here so that we can get Balthasar off the field. He does very spitefully drop one more overcast Searing Doom there just to show me, and probably finish off those Dread Spears too, if the battle didn't end right there. So very well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Super fun battle. I actually like my opponent's build quite a bit. I would probably change a handful of things, but the overall core of it is very, very good. You can see in terms of the army breakdown here, the Sisters of Slaughter, 166 kills, no XP chevrons because that's all cheap state troops, but still, they did their job of helping cut through the front line regardless of the damage they took to those, Hellblasters. Same thing with the Blades of Blood Queen, still able to get in and get 75 kills despite losing, two-thirds their unit models before they were able to get into the fight there. Both the units of Cold One Knights doing quite well. Doomfire Warlocks, one of them did very well. The other one got crushed by Balthasar's magic there. Same thing with the Dark Riders. One of them, the one that got 3 XP chevrons there, is the one that got in the back line and was able to shut down both of the Hellblaster volley guns, which proved to be key. If those things were able to stay online and continue shooting, it would have been a bad, bad day for the Dark Elves. But yeah, winning the cavalry engagement was definitely the key that won me the battle there, I think. And for my opponent, the only thing, the main thing I would change is probably to give the Demigryph Knights halberds, just because obviously if they're gonna be used out on the flanks to try and win a cav engagement, you might as well bring the halberds. Gives them a bonus versus the large, and yeah. Hellblaster volley guns are very good. 2 is a little bit much. I might swap the one of them for the Hammer of Witches, because it's going to be very good at helping counter Doomfire Warlocks, Cold One Knights, things like that. And the Empire, what I brought here does work against elite tier cavalry. Obviously, I didn't face any Demigryph Knights with halberds, which is really the elite tier cavalry killer of the Empire, but things like Grail Knights, Chaos Knights with Lances even, stuff like that, using these Doomfire Warlocks and Cold War Knights in tandem does work very well, I found there. Even the Dark Riders can perform relatively cost effectively. It's not great, but yeah, it's one of the ways that I've found is reasonably effective at dealing with Cav. And then Marathi, of course, dropping that mill cost throughout the fight. I only managed to catch the one on the Spearman, but she was dropping those on those Reichsguard and such throughout that fight as well. And that will do a bit of damage and help slow them down so that when you get the favorable engagement, you can keep them locked in. But yeah, for my opponent, other than what I've commented on already, I like the build quite a bit. It's a lot of State Troop Spearmen, but honestly, having a lot of meat for the Dark Elves to chew on can be a good thing sometimes. But yeah, overall, very fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.